LinkedIn for all their positives as far as for a job seeker and for hiring managers? Has it made it easier for companies to create more personal connections with the people that they're targeting? Or has that delta gotten larger with every step of this technology advancement in sourcing and recruiting?
All right, everybody. Welcome to Takes on Talent, an internal mini-series from Higher Learning by MSH. This is not a podcast full of buzzwords or sanitized leadership takes. These are going to be real conversations, sometimes sharp, sometimes sideways. We're going to talk about all current events of everything shaping the professional workforce, what's going on in the world, whether it be AI, leadership, culture, all that good stuff. And we're going to talk about it with some internal MSH leaders and get their takes. It's messy. It's honest. It's what happens when people in the hiring world stop filtering and start saying what they actually think. So if you're here for polished panels and LinkedIn platitudes, this is probably the wrong place. This is Takes on Talent, brought to you by MSH and Aon Hire. Today, we are joined by two fantastic internal MSH leaders. Well,
At least
maybe
one.
not fantastic. Yeah, at least one. We'll let you decide who the fantastic one is. We have the third employee in the history of MSH, came in 2012, clocking in at 5'10", with huge cab, VP of RPO sales, Tomas Layrisse. Tomas, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Great.
Glad to be here.
And now from Connecticut, clocking in at 6'2", 6'3" on a good day, the man with the plan, Chief Revenue Officer, Matt Gorman. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. I think 6'2" is a stretch, but I'll take it. Happy to be here, man. Let's talk about all things talent. Some hot takes.
All things talent. Lots of takes to get out here first off. And so what I want to start is this. There's been some current events. There's a lot going on in our space. Most recently, CareerBuilder and Monster, right? Job boards that guys who've been doing this for over a decade. We spent many years plugging in there, using our little Boolean searches, trying to find candidates on there, filed for bankruptcy last week. And they gave a lot of reasons why this was happening. AI is the common thing for anything that goes wrong nowadays. It's AI based. A lot of it is going to be competition. I think there's a lot more going on here than just that, but I want to hear from you guys first. Let's start with you, Matt. What's your take on these two monoliths of the talent and recruitment world going for bankruptcy?
Yeah. Well, they haven't been monoliths in a long ass time. That I know. And I'm definitely old enough to remember. I can remember when CareerBuilder first came into, the equation for staffing businesses and hiring.
And actually,
managers.
do you remember when Monster did the Super Bowl ad?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I do too. I think that must have been like really early, like 2000s and sometime. But I remember that ad, and I remember it being kind of a big deal because, the Super Bowl spots are so expensive. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at that, right, it's like the remnants of a giant. Like CareerBuilder was the place. It was everything, right? CareerBuilder and Monster, to a little bit lesser of an extent. But like, I can remember the days where, you were spending tens of thousands of dollars a month, a quarter on CareerBuilder, and they were flying their executives out. Your account managers were coming out. You were playing golf. You were going out to dinners and happy hours and all this stuff. And you're looking at it going, they got to be spending like a third of what we spent this quarter on taking us out. But it was a big part of their, I guess their strategy. They dropped off so hard, so fast. It was unbelievable. And I always kind of wondered if it was a symptom of catering more to the hiring managers and the businesses than it was the actual people looking for work. I mean, we know that like when Indeed came out and LinkedIn started getting real heavy in the job space specifically, as opposed to just being a platform for professionals to network. CareerBuilder was still a pay to post platform, right? If you didn't pay and you didn't post, your jobs did not populate on CareerBuilder. And I can remember that being this big conversation. I don't know how many years ago it was, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And fewer and fewer companies were posting on fewer and fewer companies were posting on CareerBuilder, and more of them were posting on Google, right? They were posting on Indeed, which was aggregating everywhere. So if I'm a job seeker, I'm getting limited access to jobs that are available by going on CareerBuilder. Why they never started aggregating from everywhere else, it made no sense to me. Because that was, my opinion, that was ultimately what crushed them. it was like, well, why can't I go to the place where all the jobs are everywhere? And they had, I think, such an easy way to do that. But they doubled down. It made the wrong bet, but they doubled down. And I still always, I know this, we're talking about talent stuff, but I still always come back to, if you just made it easier for people to find jobs as opposed to how you can get as much money out of people who are posting jobs, Career Builder probably still be used today.
Yeah, I think
My
there's
thought.
some major strategic, downfalls in terms of some of their decisions. Tomas, what do you see?
Um, I love your take, Matt, that the board or the platform was built for hiring managers. Because if we're talking about talent, you should build a platform for talent. I think one of the main reasons why they where they failed to innovate is the post and pray strategy does not work anymore. Right? You go to LinkedIn and you're getting easy applies, and recruiters we have in our team are our existing clients. They get like 2,000 applicants in 2 days. That's not a manageable workload for a recruiter. There's not way that for one role, there's 2,000 quality applicants. So I think that narrative is changing and evolving into we need to value and treat different high quality talent, right? Similar to what you do in sports. LeBron James, well, maybe he's outdated, but he's not applying to jobs, right? He's not going into the source and let me see what all the open jobs, right? He's being headhunted and treated different like any other hot prospect. Okay, so that's kind of like my take on why he's been shifting, and we gotta continue to implement the narrative towards like really good quality talent versus a tool that's built for the hiring managers. Let me see 2,000, 3,000 people, and LinkedIn accelerated that narrative because they did the easy apply and they beat a lot of the other job boards to it, and we've seen how it's backfired.
Well,
Yeah. I
let's
mean, I think
hold
we
on.
all agree that there's some evolution happening in this space. I've always thought that representation was the next step where we know everybody that's out there and that exists. And then you say, oh, they're represented by MSH. Let me contact their representatives and see if they might be interested in this job. That's where a third party intermediary, I think, it's either going to evolve in this industry, but that's where I'm not sure it changes, because when you have somebody working on behalf of you, doing some of the negotiation, the details and really representing your best interest, I really think that that's something that's only going to get more leaned into as we go forward, more so than what some are saying, wherever it all gets automated. When I look at this, I'm going to take you back real quickly to when I first started using job boards and I was first introduced to job boards. I didn't find out about them as a hiring manager. I found out about them as a recruiter, and where they really provided a ton of value for me was on gig work, contract work. So I would go on CareerBuilder, Monster, Dice when a new staffing contract came out for a project manager or a Java developer. And I would go look at who are all the active people who just put their most recent resume up there. And then I would start calling them and seeing if they were interested. Like, that's where I saw a ton of value. But I would tell you, here's what I think wiped out CareerBuilder and Monster and really their business model is LinkedIn. Okay. It's that simple, because what LinkedIn did is they created a professional network and everybody's information was out there. And now you start to see tools like Zoom Info or Apollo or these different tools where you can go get emails, you can get numbers, right? And now you don't need to pay for these job boards and go search for different people, right? You don't have to go post your job on there, because that's not where all the people are at. And ultimately, that's where the people are at. And for the most part, most professionals are on LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn really did a smart thing in terms of monetizing that, what I would call an applicant tracking system to a degree, and becoming the go-to network. I mean, I think I saw that they're like 47% of recruiting technology services, compared to, everything else that's out there. I mean, that's humongous. They're in the tens of billions more than even the millions like Career Builder and Monster are. And so I think that was the biggest technology. They're going to talk about AI. They're going to talk about competition. Is LinkedIn. LinkedIn wiped you out. And it's because they offered what you do for free, right? And then over time, as we all know, they get their hooks in you. And then as recruiting companies, I mean, now we spend all that money with LinkedIn. And by the way, they're not taking me out and whining and dining me in terms of all these golf trips and dinners. So maybe they learned the lesson from CareerBuilder and Monster.
Listen,
One more.
I think,
Right.
hold on, I
Yeah.
think Indeed took their first big bite of Career
Yeah.
Builder,
I
right? And
I
then LinkedIn learned from what Indeed was doing, and LinkedIn doubled down on those best practices. But to push back or circle back to something Tomas just said, right? It's about the talent as opposed to the hiring manager or the recruiter. I mean, who's going to dethrone LinkedIn? Because, great example, if I'm quality talent, okay, and I'm looking for a role and I'm one of 3,000 people that applied, and I can see that 47% of these people have master's degrees from top 10 schools and this and that, and where you don't rank, right? It's not talent focused anymore. Just like CareerBuilder wasn't talent focused anymore. Something's going to come and push them out because your job. See, how many times are you on LinkedIn and you see, if you're looking for a job on LinkedIn, follow these hacks to get noticed, how to beat the algorithms that companies are using. Like when my feed is filled more with people trying to hack the system for applicants than it is actual like jobs and learnings.
Yeah.
Road didn't
Or
burn in a
else
day,
just
but it did burn,
well,
right?
what else would
So
be on LinkedIn is, my dog died yesterday. Now,
yeah,
what does this mean about B2B SaaS and sales, right? Like,
yeah.
it's like LinkedIn has become a little bit of a parody of itself. And listen, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. I'm obviously very active on the tool. Our company leverages it. But like CareerBuilder and Monster, I do think things are evolving, and I'm not sure it's evolving in the way that they're going either. And so there is going to be opportunity there. And really, quite frankly, HR technology and professional technology in general needs to be rethought. That's what we're spending a lot of time doing here at our company with the t-shirt namesake, as you can see it. But things are going to change. And here's another thing there where CareerBuilder and Monster really kind of messed up. So they did a merger back in 2022, and I think they were at the peak of their height. I believe I saw CareerBuilder was at 715 million. They're down to 45 million now. So that's a 90% drop, right? And what's interesting is they merged with Monster. Hey, let me tell you what's a bad idea. If you are in a dying technology space, merging with your biggest competitor so you can just be a lot bigger of a dying technology space is actually probably pretty stupid. Like ultimately, like, no disrespect, right? But Office Max and Office Depot merged back in the day to become a lot more stores selling paper clips and paper, which and everything was moving into an e-commerce and retail space. So these mergers and acquisitions of, hey, we're not doing very well, you're not doing very well, maybe if we combine together, we could not do well together, doesn't sound like a great business strategy. And so if I was CareerBuilder, I would have taken that capital at that time and figured out, how are things evolving? Can we get involved in things like AI technology, whatever it may be, right? And invest and double down in a space that is not adjacent to what we're doing. It's very differentiated. And I think that was another huge mistake, which makes us bankrupt. I mean, I got to be honest, I hadn't used Monster and CareerBuilder for years, so I didn't even know they were still existed. But that's why this isn't a surprise that they're bankrupt.
You know, one thing that I love that every time we get inbound leads or customers talking to us, they feel like the biggest value from a recruiting agency is access to data. It's access to talent. And I've always pitched against it. Like we've supported customers in CPG, in even like providing healthcare nurses to a security facility or to a prison, right? We've gone across the spectrum in many, many different areas. And every time I speak with a decision maker, they're like, do you have access to the talent? Give me the case study where you placed all these people. And the hiring managers are so stuck in like prehistoric ways on who has access to that, when honestly, it's ubiquitous, it's irrelevant. Like we all have access to that data. The fact that these two companies failed and they didn't get acquired is because everybody has what they have. Everybody have access to that data. Like that's not a differentiator anymore.
One of the things that's interesting to me that you said earlier, Tomas, is this idea of like this post and pray strategy, right? This idea that, and you see this a lot in corporate talent acquisition. You'll see this with a lot of recruitment agencies. It's like, I get a job, I go post it, I wait for them to come to me. Maybe I work at a big brand, and so they all just kind of want to come work here. And I got to tell you what, I think that's already something in my mind that's been bypassed, and why you really want people that are aggressive and building relationships and have networks and can go sell that employee value proposition of your company, not just wait for people to apply. Because a lot of times we know that best talent out there is passive. But to me, AI is only going to make that worse, right? This ability to, post and wait for somebody to come in. Like AI can do that right now and take care of that right now. But here's what AI won't replace. It won't replace the ability for somebody that really knows the brand, really knows the company, who maybe already has a preconceived relationship with the person that they trust, reaching out and helping them understand why this opportunity that you were not thinking about, you were sitting there doing your job, and I called you with this opportunity that's going to offer you more money, more title, more everything. That is why you should be listening to what I'm saying, and we should talk about potentially pursuing this opportunity. I don't think that's going to change with AI, because I'm going to tell you what, if I get a call and it's like, hi, this is RoboOz wanting to call you about a job opportunity, I'm hanging up. I don't want to talk to that person. I want to talk to a real physical human being that's out there, that's being assertive, that maybe somebody I know knows, right? And that's the type of person that I want to work with on a trusted relationship. And if your company isn't doing that now, or if you're working in an agency and you're not doing that as a recruiter, I don't know what to tell you. It's good. You're going to fall by the wayside. That's not the approach. It's not assertive enough. It's not aggressive enough. Your value is around your relationships and your ability to build relationships and build trust. And I've been saying this for 10, 15 years. And I don't know why so many companies and organizations are okay with just, let's sit back and wait and see what happens. And maybe it's a bandwidth thing. Maybe it's a resource thing. I don't know. But if I care about bringing top talent into my organization, give me the Sharks. Am I right?
Yeah. Um, I've been working with a financial services institution. They're looking to grow they made a huge investment in AI, huge investment in training, huge investment in human capital, and they really struggle to find sales talent, okay, to grow a lot of the regions that they're expanding into. And we're even talking to relationship-led passive like engagement strategies from our recruitment team reaching out to candidates. And the candidates are like, I'm not applying to jobs. I really don't care. I know I'm going to be one of 2,000, one of 3,000. The easy apply backfire on LinkedIn. I want to work where somebody can refer me, where a friend knows, or a company that has really good reviews, or I heard from someone. Like everything is being even over leveraged around the relationship led engagements because technology, to your point, removes so many barriers positively from a passive talent pool, but at the same time, people don't trust, people don't want to work with, don't want to engage with a company where Robot calls them or a robot recruiter calls them. I get all those texts all the time and people shy away from those companies.
Yeah. I think what's the problem with our industry in general is that everybody thinks they can do it well, right? Everybody thinks they're great at hiring. Everybody thinks they're great at recruiting. And for so long, you see people say, let's automate this, let's do this, because maybe they have a stigma against talent acquisition or recruitment. Maybe they've had bad experiences and it's like, let's automate it, automate it, automate it. And to me, this is a very centrally human experience, right? This isn't like, I'm fine getting in a Waymo. I don't need to have a human experience getting from point A to point B. But if I'm going to consider a new job opportunity, if I'm going to put my career in the hands of somebody or something else, yeah, I want that human touch. I don't want to go interview with an AI avatar like Micro One is doing. I want to interview with the person that I'm actually going to count on to promote me or move me up or to guide me or advise me or whatever it may be. Like, I just think one of the biggest problems in our industry is this continued use of technology to replace and automate, where technology has a big place in what we do, but people are finding it in all the wrong spots. And I just think that's one of the biggest issues that's out there.
So let me pose a question then. Went from CareerBuilder Monster, which seems like Jurassic days, okay, to Indeed and LinkedIn, which we'll call, for lack of a better word, the modern era. So of all these advancements in technologies and AI sourcing and aggregating the data and all of that type of stuff, have companies at scale gotten better at hiring?
Companies at scale got better.
Well, because here's what I'm hearing, right? We need stronger human relationships, right, to get hiring right. Okay. LinkedIn, right, for all their positives as far as for a job seeker and for hiring managers, has it made it easier for companies to create more personal connections with the people that they're targeting? Or has that delta gotten larger with every step of this technology advancement in sourcing and recruiting? I would say it's now worse.
Yeah, I
Worse
mean,
and
I
worse.
agree with what you're saying. It's because people are relying on these tools, like you're saying, and just like set it and forget it, right? But here's where I would look at it a little bit of a different way. It's not necessarily that we need more technology to make it even more human. It's that we need to be more intelligent overall in our approach. Because I'm going to tell you this: there's a haves and have-nots right now. Okay, when I look at the FANG, right, where I look at OpenAI or Anthropic, and you're watching, we're gonna get into this subject in a minute, of these great AI talents going from company to company, right? When you study what Google does, what Amazon does, what Meta does to acquire talent, you'd be amazed at how much resources, thought, and how intelligent the people are in that space to get best in class talent. And in fact, we're gonna talk about it in a second, but like Mark Zuckerberg himself is leading the charge around recruitment of AI talent. That tells you how important it is to get the best in class talent when these edges. Okay. So those are the companies that have known that for a long time, and they kind of keep everything they do very private and very quiet. And you don't really hear about a lot of what they're doing internally, but I can tell you firsthand that they're doing amazing things. So that's like the top 1 or 2% companies, right? And then you have the wide swath of companies that you're talking about that just, rubber stamp, or I hired somebody, that's their job, or that's HR's job. That's not me. And they're not doing very well. And then I'll tell you another group that I think is doing it really well. Startups, right? And here's why. Because you either live or die based on your second employee, first employee, third employee, fourth employee, fifth employee, right? If you don't do that well, then you're in really big trouble. So the founder is out in front, right? Recruiting and bringing people into their vision. And they're bringing in people for the right reasons a lot of the time. Do you buy into my vision, right? Do you buy, here, I got some equity for you, right? Because if you buy into it, because there should be some financial upside to it, but you're going to see that the compensation plans at the startup level is not great. It's really not. It's about buying into that vision, buying into our culture, buying into what we're doing, right? And a lot of times you're kind of taking from the same ecosystem of people that either or that know, right? Second degree, third degree, right? And that's why, not every startup, obviously, otherwise every startup would be successful, but a lot of startups are really smart, innovative. And so what do I see as the commonality between those two very, very different extremes? They put a lot of emphasis on talent. It's a really important thing. And everybody else in between, it kind of just seems like it's like a secondary thing, or it's not something they put enough time, resources.
Here's my question then for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you just described could have been said 100 years ago too. The top 2 to 3% of companies spend a lot of time, resources into hiring the right people. They have higher end protocols and processes. They have all the tools, whether that tool back in the day was a telephone or a fax machine, or it's the highest end subscription to LinkedIn, Recruiter, whatever it may be. They're doing that. Companies that are just starting are spending massive amounts of time relationship building with new or first, or, the first 10 employees, 20 employees, 100 employees, it's the same. And everyone in the middle is floundering around. So has the technology changed the landscape in 100 years? I mean, it's not 100 years. Let's just, no, we'll say 1920s. That's fine. 1920s to 2020s. It's still the same. How do you address that middle market? It's not even middle market. How do you address the 80% of companies that are still floundering around?
Here's my thesis. Technology is a crutch. Technology is what people think is a solution, when what I've been saying is this: we make time for what's important. It's not being put enough importance on. And here's what I mean by that. A founder, 50% of your job is recruitment and talent identification. There's no question in my mind about that. A manager, right? A lot of times we talk to managers all the time. Hiring kind of gets in the way of their day-to-day or what they thought they were promoted or hired to do. Wrong. It's 50% of your job at least. And I can make the case it's more, right? And that's the problem. People don't put enough emphasis or importance on it. And so the technology is just another excuse or another thing I can shove off the responsibility to, so I can focus on what I perceive to be more important. Tomas, what do you think about that?
So I love Matt's question. And here's what I'll say. I don't know if they're hiring better, right? But I know they're hiring smarter in the way of, how do we reach out to people? How do we qualify? How do we move them through the process? Like, how do we access? If we look at how talent enters a company, okay, you have applicants, you have referrals, and then you have kind of like maybe internal moves, or maybe you have like an external source. Okay. From a lot of our clients, 30% of people that enter a company, talent that just joins, new hires, comes from referrals. The companies that are hiring better are probably doubling down on the strategies that actually work for them, if they're measuring what a good hire is at their company. Okay. If they're leveraging technology, to us as one, not as a crutch, but as a, how do I make smarter decisions? Then definitely not a crutch, right? And it's like, are we interviewing? Are we measuring exit strategies? Or do we have what a good quality talent looks like? How do they promote? Are they get promoted? Or client management? And they're all talking with each other. Then you're probably hiring them.
Agreed.
I'll throw one more thing in there. I think that middle group that we're talking about, that 80% that doesn't sit in the top 1 to 2%, but doesn't sit at the bottom 15 to 20 of, startups, less than 50 employee type business operations. I think it's why there's more and more staffing businesses and talent businesses than ever before. It's because they can't leverage their relationships. They don't have the time, the infrastructure to spend 50% of their managers' times on hiring, recruiting, and building talent networks. That's why companies like ours, and I'm not saying just exclusively ours, but companies like ours are so important in operations, why companies continue to come back, why you can do an executive search for one company and end up doing their executive search functions for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting run for human capital in the next
Listen, it's
decade.
always a buy versus build conversation. I think, if you think you can build something internally that's going to be like for fangs, like we talked about, more power to you.
Is
If
it called
not,
Fangs anymore? Isn't it called like
I don't know. It's
Rama or
face
something?
manga,
Yeah, something like that.
manga or something like that. Meta, because they,
Yeah, it's
I'm with
Microsoft,
you.
Meta,
Yeah, I also
Apple.
think that finding a trusted partner that are experts in this space, really understanding that this is an expertise, this is a skill, that this is not easy, this is something that's learned, it takes a lot of time, and then saying, okay, well, who are the people who do that best? Let me bring them in, like our company, right? Like you would do with our company. That I think is what we're going to continue to see a lot of, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere when it comes to AI.
Finding the right talent for your team doesn't have to be a struggle. Meet Aon Hire, the world's first hiring experience management platform designed to transform the way you hire. Powered by AI, Aon Hire takes the hassle out of every step in the process. From smart resume analysis to customized interview questions, it saves you time, money, and effort. Plus, with real-time insights from every interview, you can quickly identify top candidates, reduce turnover, and stay on budget. And forget about note-taking, Aon Hire takes care of that for you. Ready to revolutionize your hiring process? Visit aonhire.com and get started today.
Speaking of AI, okay, right now, a lot going on in the space, right? There's a lot of conversation going on. Obviously, it impacts talent at a very high level. What we've seen recently is our good friend Mark Zuckerberg over at Meta, right? Maybe he's feeling a little desperate. Maybe he's feeling like he's behind in the race right now. You see Microsoft with OpenAI. You're seeing Google with DeepMind. Anthropic is making big moves. Amazon's invested in Anthropic. Like all the big players seem to be doing something in AI. And Meta doesn't have anything from a consumer-facing perspective. They built Llama as a large language model. They open sourced it. That built a lot of goodwill. I don't know if that's a great business strategy, though. And so what we heard recently was Sam Altman in an interview said that Meta and Zuckerberg himself is out offering $100 million signing bonuses to lead AI research people at OpenAI, at Anthropic, at these different companies to poach them and bring them over to Meta to build their super intelligence strategy. So I don't know, there's a lot of places to go with this. I'm interested in it. There's a lot of things that stand out to me. Matt, go ahead, kick us off. What's the first thing when you hear this story you think of?
Oh, the first thing I think of is I love it, right? Like you want to build something and you're in a position of power, which Meta very much is. Like, let's throw all our lines in the water and see what we come up with. I mean, does it have a lot of ramifications downstream? Sure. Does it create a lot of concerns with like governance and the ethics of AI and all that type of stuff? Yeah. Does it centralize all the power into a handful of individuals? Yeah. But does it create a ton of opportunities? I think the opportunities it creates far outweighs, the pish poshiness of like, oh, 100 million. I don't think he's giving $100 million to anybody. Right. But I think, right. Yeah, there's going to be big bonuses and all that type of stuff. But what's OpenAI going to do? They're going to turn around and do the exact same thing. Right. They're going to say, oh, yeah, whatever they offer you, we're going to offer you that to stay. Okay. Now we're getting in it. Now where's the premium moving forward? Right. The premium moving forward is like, in my opinion, right, downstream, which is the way my brain always goes. Like, where's all these prompt engineers? Where's all these data engineers? Right? These aren't the guys who are going to pay $100 million to come work there, but they need a stable of people coming up. So where's the bigger investment going to go? It's not going to go just these top people right now because this arms race for AI super intelligence is going to go on forever, right? It's never completed until we're like, what, sentient? Like, then it completely takes over and there's no need for us anymore. They're not going to let that happen. They're like, way too much money, right? So it's going to go on forever. So how does it affect me, right? Because today it doesn't affect me, right? Like ChatGPT, Grok, they all still work the same way they worked for me before, whether who's working for who, right? But this huge investment that's going to have to take place in what we would call mid to lower level AI roles and jobs within organizations. is going to be huge, right? Like huge. And these startups, these AI SaaS products and businesses that are globbing on to individual, markets, whether it's like fintech or HR or, anything else, right? They can capture, enterprise partnerships, show scalability and like a true cornering of even the smallest aspect of the market they're in. They're going to take over, right? It's like, oh, we're not going to get a $750 million valuation right away, right? No, but I can turn this business around real quick, spin my product up, and in 1 year, 2 year, be looking at a $10 to $15 million exit because they're going to buy you up so quick, so quick. I mean, I just think the landscape, we're talking talent, right? So the landscape for employment, it's wild. We can talk about the ethical and the morality of it all, which is fine.
Gap there, right? We're seeing all these layoffs in technology, and then you juxtapose that with them throwing these large signing bonuses at this AI space. Like I think you said it perfectly. It's an absolute arms race, and I don't think it's going to be winner take all, but there's certainly going to be winners and losers in this, right? I mean, if we look at the Mag 7 over the last 5 years, they've really carried the stock market, right? Over the last 5 years and really kind of stayed somewhat homogenous and together, right? But I would tell you over the next 5 years, it's going to disperse and there's going to be some winners and losers. And Meta is doing their best to make sure they're not part of it. What do you think, Tomas?
Oh, I'll dig in. I agree with a lot of things that you said, Matt, there. So I would love to have been the executive search agency leading those searches, because at a commission fee on $100 million role, it's pretty substantial number. All jokes aside, if Mark leading the charge from a talent perspective around recruiting himself, the people for his own company, doesn't tell all the other, because we're talking about the 1%ers and the 80% and then the bottom, doesn't indicate all the other middle 80% mark companies on how to best recruit, I don't know what will. Right? If you're not taking matter into your own hands, you're the 1%er of companies and you're actually doing the recruitment yourself. And I'm working with a banking client. And there was a lot of friction because we cannot engage candidates. So we told hiring managers, here's a message, here's the people. What do you think about recruiting yourself? There was a lot of friction. They're like, I don't know, I shouldn't be doing this. We've gotten a lot of good results out of that effort. We're getting more engagement. Then recruiting takes over, right? But at least the engagement part, relationship-led engagement, that really works.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think it's actually one of the, chances for Meta to be actually successful going forward. They're one of the only founder-led businesses of that magnitude still left, right? Satya Nadella, God bless him, he's not going to be on the phone recruiting people right now. He's got Sam Altman and OpenAI, so it's a little bit of a different story. Same thing with Sundar Pichai at Google, right? Not the founder, right? And that's why you see Sergey Brin and Larry Page started to come back into the fold, because founders are starting to see, oh man, this is a new wave, and this is going to take some founder energy to kind of make things happen. And that's exactly what Zuckerberg is doing. And I'm going to tell you what, it's a smart bet, because here's why. They're about a 1.8 trillion market cap, Meta. Okay. If you think over the next 5 years that AI, some sort of AI components are going to be part of your revenue at 50 to 70%, right? You can do the math on that. It's $1 trillion. So if you're spending, I don't know, $5 billion on trying to bring talent in the organization, that's an absolute drop in the bucket to make sure that you're not left behind. And believe me, Meta is left behind right now. Because I'm going to tell you what, Meta, you know what they're famous for, really, if you ask me? Great company, great organization, Zuckerberg, great founder, but they are really good at copying and reproducing and stealing. Hear me out here, okay? Facebook, MySpace and Friendster existed first. Facebook did it way better. Super major credit to them, right? Snapchat, right? You remember this, right? Where they tried to buy Snapchat. Snapchat said no. Evan Spiegel said, sorry, Mark, I don't want your money. Okay, we'll just steal what you do, okay? Instagram, right? They were getting beat from a pictures perspective. We'll buy that. WhatsApp on a messaging perspective. Can you imagine where Meta would be right now without Instagram and WhatsApp? Those are really, really critical purchases. And so the one time it feels like Zuckerberg decided to foray into a new world on his own and really try to innovate, Web3 didn't work out so well, right? They put a lot of money and investment, billions of dollars, changed the company's name, and it actually did not turn out to be. So what is Mark doing? Mark's like, you know what? I'm going back to my old reliable. I'm just going to take and steal from others. And if I can't do it internally, then I'm going to get. And listen, he's been successful. They've taken 8 of the top researchers from OpenAI. Now, what happens from here? That's the real question, okay? Because once you have the talent, you're paying for the talent, but you're also paying for the secrets, okay? Because all of those people come with, well, this is what we were doing at OpenAI. This is what we're building. This is what we're building in Anthropic. This is what we're doing in this space. And now Mark has all that intellectual property sitting with him now because he has the people there, and now they can build in their own way. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. I mean, they have a lot of robust information, right? You can build great large language models and train models on Facebook comments and things like that, I guess. Like, I think there's a lot probably there. OpenAI famously did that with Reddit. But I don't know. I just don't know what the next step is. I agree with you, Tomas. I think the biggest takeaway for me is founder mode. He's using that energy. He's getting on the phone. I've heard he's hosting dinners. He's setting these researchers right by him in the Meta offices. He's doing everything he can with his one big advantage, which is being the founder of that organization, to try to get great talent into the company.
And I'm sure he didn't use AI to recruit that time.
Sure, he didn't. Can you imagine if you were one of the OpenAI researchers and you get a call from Mark's avatar and not Mark? You're probably not taking that call. What's really kind of like interesting for me is now, or maybe $100 million.
It's real impressive. Like, look at the shit we built. You want to come here?
Yeah, that's a good point. You're not wrong there. I will say this. Here's where Sam Altman's leaning in. He's telling people, I read this earlier today, oh, don't you want to be part of really building AGI and the culture? And listen, like, I respect him. Like, he's trying to tell people, like, hey, don't look at all that $100 million. We've got a great culture here. But I'm going to tell you what, Sam, I can tell you firsthand, I'm a big believer that culture and mission can do a lot to retain people, but not at 100 million, bro. 100 million, you're good luck with that, right? And that's why I think you're losing some of that talent. So I'm interested to see what OpenAI does from a retention perspective, how Sam gets involved, right? And what he does. They've had a lot of people leave that organization, usually to go start their own startups. Did you know that Dario Amodei, he was the CEO of Anthropic, came from OpenAI, okay? Ilya was one of the number 2 in command at OpenAI, I believe, for a long time. He went and opened up a company called SSI, Save Super Intelligence. So, they're losing a lot of talent one way or another, whether it's going to open their own companies or losing them to competitors. And I just, we love this stuff. This is what we love. We love watching talent migrate and move and all this great stuff happen. What do you got, Matt?
I don't think they're losing them, though. Right? I'm going to put on like my strategic hat and say, yeah, go spin up your own thing, build your own teams. We're going to buy you up in 3 to 5 years. So go for it. Like, what level of antitrust lawsuits are going to be coming out in the next like 4 to 5 years? I mean, it's going to be wild, right? Because the idea of them combining will obviously not be allowed by any stretch of the imagination, right? So they're going to need to continue to build funnel businesses that they can purchase and buy. And why not allow that to happen? I mean, strategically, if I'm looking at it, my 3 top guys or girls or whoever want to leave and they want to go start their own, just like you had mentioned, like, great, build it all up, make something new. I'm going to swoop in and buy you in 3 to 5 years and you'll be right back here. Or just, hey, go do it again. Right. And have maybe 3 or 4 people from your business will go spin off their own. Yeah. I'd like to keep a close line with them as well. Right. It's just like any other industry that we've seen over time. Right.
Okay.
Like,
I want to add something on this real quick, because I think it's a really important point on your part. So we know what Microsoft's doing, right? They have OpenAI. They're using Azure as the compute. We saw that they acquired Johnny Ive's company. They look like, to me, probably the leaders in the AI space right now, right? Then you have Google, right? Which, Tomas, you and I went to an event a couple months ago with the new Gemini release. They have DeepMind. They obviously have that search functionality and distribution there. So I think Google's really well positioned. Meta, they're behind, but you see what they're trying to do. They're acqui-hiring. They acquired scale. They're trying to get all these people involved. We're not Apple. What's Apple doing? Let's try something real quick. Siri, who won the 2008 NBA championship? Well, I got to be honest. Siri's really stepped their game up. They brought that up really quickly. Now, I've been working with Siri for I don't know how long, and always been like tearing my hair out because it's like she doesn't listen to what I'm saying. She doesn't give me the right answer. They're so far behind, it feels like, from an AI perspective. So here's my question to you. Are they fat and happy? Are they like, we have more cash than anybody? We have the highest market cap. We're just going to keep kind of maintaining what we do and we're not innovating as much as we used to? Or do you think that they have something in their bag that they haven't released just yet that's going to come, and Apple's going to start to either show the way or lead the way or be a big part of this AI conversation?
If I were a betting man, I'm saying they have something in the bank. I wouldn't never count Apple out of any innovative discussions. But I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a different question then. What would be different if Steve Jobs is still alive?
I'm sure the user interface will be amazing, though.
I mean, can you like, I read the Walter Isaacson book around like mobile and like the move to the iPhone and like how hands-on he was with everything. What would he be doing with AI right now? Like, I mean, I would think that he would dedicate all the company's resources. He'd be sitting there, he'd be doing what Zuckerberg is doing and trying to recruit people. I have to imagine. And I just wonder, like, yeah, sure, Apple, like they had the benefit of the doubt. They obviously dominate the US market when it comes to, they have the hardware, they have a lot of our information and data, but I don't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the last event that, like, I don't know. I was kind of unimpressed. And those used to be like seminal moments. You would be looking forward to the Apple event every year. And now it's like, check out this cool new UI we have. Like, it's like, what's going on here? Matt, what do you think?
I have a lot of thoughts. I think one, yeah, you're never going to count Apple out on everything, but also said that about CareerBuilder, tying that back, right? I mean, who has the most money? Who has the most
Apple, I
cash?
believe, most
Probably
cash.
Apple.
Apple by far,
Apple.
right? So when you have a lot of cash and you are seemingly behind, which we don't know, right? They could be ahead of everyone and be like, oh, by the way, we're going to drop this. We're here. Or you have more cash than everybody. What do you have the luxury of being able to do?
Wait.
Buy
until
your
you
way
buy.
in. Exactly. Wait and see and buy your way into the game, right? It's just like poker. It's like, yeah, there's buybacks. Like, yeah, I can play fast and lose in
Couple
the first
hands.
few rounds. I got more money than everyone at the table, so I'm going to be back. It's all right. So I don't know.
So is that what they're doing? They're letting everybody just kind of, get
Why not
going.
let
And,
someone else do all the work and come in and be like, oh yeah, by the way, we have like a bajillion dollars. Like, we want to play now. So we're going to take you and you, we're going to merge you. We're going to bring you over here. We're going to pay everyone really well.
So what's the move?
What's the move? I don't know. I mean, we constantly hear, like, since we've been on this call, the capabilities of AI has increased like 100%, right? Like it's 30 something minutes, 40 minutes we've been talking. But it's still very infantile, right? In its stages of development. I mean, it's not a technology that's been around for 50 years, right? And it's just over the last, 5 years, really picked up traction. So you want to enter a new market, burn a bunch of capital, maybe Meta's an example of that. You want to wait, see what happens, keep stacking the cash, buy your way into the game, the later stages, while you're, in parallel, building your own whatever. That's what I would think. I would think Apple's going to come in at some point and be like, oh, we're announcing this huge joint venture with XYZ. We're in the space now too. And oh, by the way, we have more money than all. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Bigger company in 10 years, Apple or Tesla?
That's tough because you have like geopolitical context in there as well.
Hold on. Let me give you a caveat, because I don't think it's just about cars, although I think it's a big part. I believe in Tesla as the future of robotics. Robotics
that's
AI.
what I'm going with, right?
Yeah, for sure. Right. So like, I think they have the infrastructure and the ability to build that out. Right. And they have great AI, right? Based on, I don't know if you've used full service driving on a Tesla. It's like, it's the most impressive software I've touched in 10 years. It's the most amazing thing that I've come in contact with. And that's why I think they're really well positioned. Maybe Apple makes a play for Tesla. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think anyone's going to allow that to happen, but
my only take on is what you said before. Where would Apple be if Steve Jobs was here? Right. My take is Elon Musk is still here. He's at Tesla. So if I were a betting man, I would bet on Elon 10 out of 10 times.
The founder, man. How important is that, huh? It really is. It really is. And the minute, I read this the other day, the company changes the minute that you give it, the founder gives up the reins to another person, right? And to run the company. It's always just going to be different, and it's probably not going to be as good, right? And like, that's just the way it is. Well, I mean, give me an example. Give me an example of a prominent company that made a transition from founder to CEO and it went better.
I know you're a guy.
Founder.
Hey, you walked me right into that one. I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
Well, listen, the founder has their hands and they're part of the fabric. And you're right, with good business and good leadership, there's always ability to grow the business. But I'm just thinking like, I've been listening to the founder podcast a lot, and like they're talking about Ferrero Rocher, right? They're talking about Sam Walton. They're talking about, Phil Knight from Nike. Like, you just see these founders are just like, yeah, they really are like the celebrities of the business world. They really are. And sometimes they probably get too much credit in a lot of different ways, but like, I don't know. I find it all pretty fascinating. All right. I'm going to ask 2 questions. We're going to go a little bit off topic. Okay. First one's going to be on topic. I want to know, can't say Steve Jobs, can't say Elon Musk. Tell me your favorite founder of all time. Tomas.
You said no Steve Jobs, no Elon Musk. I'm gonna go with the book I read, Shoe Dog. So I will go with him mostly because of, if you, I don't know, I think you read the book.
Yeah.
Just the background, Phil Knight, background of what he went through, how many times he failed, how he came up with a logo, like all the details that they go into. And I think Nike is a lifestyle, and I'm a Nike fan. And if I wear another brand, I feel like I'm cheating on Nike in a way, right? Like, oh my God, I bought these Adidas shoes because they're a little bit more comfortable in this. And I'm like, why didn't I buy Nike? Like, I'd go out of my way to look for Nike products before going to buying something different.
Totally agree with you. My brand loyalty to Nike is very high, as it is with Apple, and to Tesla to a certain degree. What about you, Matt?
I'm trying to think the whole time he's going, and I could go like an easy route and say Bezos, right? Because, of our lifetime, it's not the stories of the 70s and 80s, and early 90s. I mean, I guess Bezos was like the early to mid 90s, but I mean, obviously half of what I purchase comes from Amazon, and half of what I watch is streamed by Amazon, and half of the products we use is on AWS, and like, it's taken over everything. But I would have said before that, I would have said Richard Branson.
Okay. Oh, I love that answer. Go ahead. Explain why.
It's less of a business perspective and more of a person perspective. Whereas like I like Bezos, you just look at the way they build. I mean, companies have tried to model their strategy, their hiring, their infrastructure, their build out, how they turn, loss centers in their business into profit centers, and how they do all of that. And it's really cool. But Richard Branson was always he was winning on like purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like his businesses had a purpose that he was deeply connected to, and his philosophies on life made him like a bigger, I don't know, bigger personality, a bigger person on the world stage than maybe just his, business savvy, which I'm not underplaying at all. But I don't know. When I think back to great founders, like Richard Branson comes in like the top of my mind.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
So if I were to ask you top 5 founders or top 10, Mark Zuckerberg, would he ever come up in that list?
I mean, listen, just by
He has
financials.
to. Yes,
you
he has
have to, right?
By success.
Yeah. I mean, like, would I go about doing things the way that Zuckerberg does? No, not necessarily. Well, I mean, I'd like to copy some of the financial success, but I don't necessarily approach. And honestly, like, I feel like I don't think he's looked at like as a rock star as like Elon is and Jobs are. So I think that's a fair call out. But it's hard to fight the success, man. He's had a ton of success, and whether we like the tactics or not, they work. He did buy Instagram, he did buy WhatsApp. That has allowed for the relevance. He took a big swing, right? It doesn't always work with Web3, and maybe that will pay off in the future. Who knows? But you got to give him credit, and we'll see where he lands up in the AI race. He certainly has done a good job of changing his image over the last year and a half or so with his gold chains. And remember when he did the surfboard picture with him with the suntan lotion on his face? Everyone's like, oh my God, what is this dude doing? Talk about an about face. Now he's got like Drake's persona out there with his gold chains and the black shirts and, being really edgy. So listen,
What changed for Mark Zuckerberg? He started doing jujitsu.
Is that what changed? Is it
So this say?
That's what changed his life. That's what changed his image. No more fear.
If you're going to ask me, I would say one that maybe you don't think a lot about, Jim Senegal, was for Costco, right? Price Club. He started that. That's a great business. I'm always fascinated by that. If you look at the things he did to get to where he was, it's pretty interesting. Jensen Huang, I think, is a genius, and I think is a really smart guy. And if you learn about the story of NVIDIA and what they've been doing, like, this isn't an overnight success. Like, it took a while to get there. And now they're positioned to be may be the player going forward when it comes to this AI gold rush. They're providing the shovels for everybody. And I'm going to give you a little underrated one. Todd Graves, Raising Cane's. Okay. The guy cares about nothing other than making the world's best chicken finger. I think we saw earlier today that they just took over number 3 in the US market in terms of the chicken space. And we know that MSH is all things chicken. We work with all the big chicken companies. So I want to give Todd Graves some unrelenting focus and somebody that's really built an empire out of, I think it was done off of a class project at LSU and turned into the multi-billion-dollar business it is today. So I think that's another impressive.
I want to throw out one. Let's throw out top founders, although we may not necessarily call them that, from like 80 to 100 years ago.
Ooh, are you going like Rockefeller? Or are we going?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like
Yeah.
the Henry Fords, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. Like,
Yeah.
who
You're
is
going
it?
real school here.
Yeah, well, like let's go back to the ones that our founders studied someone, right?
Yeah.
They studied them.
I'm not going to go back that far. I'm going to go back halfway that far. I like Ray Kroc. I like Ray Kroc a lot,
Ray
right?
Kroc.
And now
Great
if
one.
you look at what he did for McDonald's, has anyone seen the movie The Founder?
Yeah, it's great.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Exceptional movie.
Yeah.
Now he didn't necessarily get to where he was in the most genuine way. You know, McDonald's was started by 2 brothers, and he came in and kind of bought it, kind of took it over, and then played the real estate play to make McDonald's what it is today. But dude's a genius. Dude definitely built something, obviously, that we all have enjoyed and taking part of for a long time. And so I think he deserves a lot of credit. Go ahead.
Where's Walt in all this
That's
discussion?
the one I was
Walt
going to
Dis-
go with. I was going to go with.
I
As I
think
planned
Walt
a trip
Disney?
to Disney World.
And-
It's like,
Walt
it's
Disney.
got to be
Great
Walt
founder.
Disney, man.
I love
Why
it.
is he here?
You're right. It's a good call. All right, here's my last question. We're going in a completely different topic, but it's something that all 3 of us love. So I'm going to throw it on you here. I want you to pick the greatest sports organization that exists today and make your case for why that is. We're going in a different direction. Some people want to hear about sports, Matt. Tomas?
I'm with you. You know what mine is.
Okay, I know. Now, I kind of have a sense where both of yours are, so I want to hear your cases. Go ahead, Matt. Let's hear yours.
Oh, mine's the New York Yankees. Hands
Okay,
down.
give us the bona fides. Give us the data points. Why?
Well, the most winningest, is that the word? Yeah, winningest franchise in Major League Baseball history. It's also one of the oldest, not the oldest, but one of the oldest. But I think what they've done is they've cultivated an image of excellence, right? It's elite. Like wearing the pinstripes is elite. Up until recently, right? Players weren't allowed to have facial hair. They weren't allowed to have long hair. There was an image and a brand that comes with the New York Yankees. From a personal perspective as a person, from their apparel and what it represents. Like, think about it. You guys are in Florida, right? I'm up here in New York. And you see a Yankees logo. What's the visceral reaction? It's either love or hate, right? Or it's just like, it's an image. Like, go back to like 1990s rappers. They either had Yankees hats on or Dodgers hats on, right? No one was wearing a Mets hat or a Padres hat, right? That's not what it was. It's an image of excellence. Always.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Also, they have over
argue
a
you.
billion
I'm
of
going to say God bless that World Series run last year because we could have started to make the case that current relevance isn't what it used to
come
be,
on.
right? But you're right. They're playing well this year. They went to the World Series last year, so they're relevant. Let me ask you a quick question, though. If they were the Minneapolis Yankees, would it be the same thing? Because they're in the greatest city in the world? Is a big part of it?
I don't know if I'd call it the greatest city in the world anymore. I don't even know if I'd call it the greatest city in the United States. But it's a cool one with good sports, that's for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Tomas. What's your answer?
I'll make my case for the greatest team ever existed is Real Madrid. I'll give you a couple reasons why. We're talking about innovation. We're talking about staying relevant. We're talking about CareerBuilder going out of business and how many years have been in business for. Real Madrid has been in business for 120 years, and they're still the most prominent, successful, most accoladed, and world-renowned brand in the world. You can talk to anybody in the world, guarantee you, do you know Real Madrid? And they'll probably say, outside of the US, right? Not a big talker. Like you might think, I don't know, South Dakota and I don't know, Rhode Island, Florida, and a lot of people might not know, but outside of kind of like the US, it's a world most renowned brand. If you talk about success, We all know what they've achieved in the Champions League, in La Liga, and all
How
the
many
tournaments
titles
that
do they have?
play. 15,
Okay. And what's the next closest?
probably like 5.
Okay. So they're far and away. Okay.
Way far and away.
Okay.
They have financial independence. They're not relying on what Man City did in oil money in most recent case studies, right? For example, the first person who bought the season ticket holders as a Real Madrid sponsor, he just died. So probably close to 80, 90 years old. The current president for Real Madrid attended the funeral. What organization in the world does this? Not many.
Okay. Well, I mean, so listen, your biggest argument is global nature. I'll make the case that, a kid in Uganda that knows who the Yankees are as much as they might know the Real Madrid. But here's where I'm going to, and neither of you went to the players. I mean, Ruth, Mantle, Garrett, Jeter, right? We look at Mbappe, we look at Beckham, we look at Ronaldo. Who else am I missing from the highlight, the Galacticos of Real?
Zidane, Roberto Carlos, Raul. This is where players go to become immortal, basically. They don't go to Barcelona. They don't go to Liverpool.
All right. Relax. All right, here's what I'm going to do. You both are fans of the two teams you brought up. By definition, not objective. I'm going to bring somebody to the table objectively, not a fan of this team. And it's going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers, I think, have 19 to 20 titles, right? They're either tied with the Celtics or ahead of the Celtics in terms of most championships. They've been relevant across tons of eras, right? Starting with George Mikan and then Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. And then obviously the Showtime Lakers, synonymous with pizzazz and the city that they were in with Magic Johnson and James Worthy and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then you've got Shaq and Kobe, right? Obviously the three-peat earlier on in the 2000s. And then Kobe got a couple more titles with Pau Gasol. Now they have LeBron James on their team. They won recently. They've had all the big stars, right? There's something called Lakers exceptionalism where you assume all the big stars are going to go there, like Luka Doncic somehow got traded to the freaking Los Angeles Lakers. They are an iconic brand. They're purple and gold everywhere you see it. Jack Nicholson sitting on the sidelines. Pat Riley with his hair slicked back. You tell me who's a more winning, glamorous sports organization than the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't think it's the Yankees. I don't think it's Real Madrid. I think it's LA, baby. LA Lakers. That's my argument.
If you're talking about organizations, you can bring organizations that play sports in one country in the world. Maybe baseball more, but not. Soccer is played by everybody.
All right.
It's the most international global viewpoint.
All right. So, kids in Hong Kong know who the Lakers are. They know who Kobe Bryant is. How dare you? All right. Guys, that's all we got time for today, okay? That's it for rounds of Takes on Talent, a higher learning mini series. If you liked the honesty, if you didn't like the honesty, or at least you didn't hate it, go ahead and subscribe to Higher Learning for more conversations that cut through the noise. This episode was brought to you by MSH Talent Solutions and Aon Hire. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.